y'all doing?
Okay, I guess it's time for us to get serious. Hey guys, so before we get into the video, I want to clear up a few things. I didn't know I would have to clear this up, but I guess I do. First of all, yes, I am Muslim. I'm not saying this because it's not evident, but apparently people were confused after my last video. Second, no, I'm not trying to cause fitna or divide anyone. That's not who I am, and that was never my intention. And third, I get it. The topic feels very heavy, especially right now when Muslims everywhere are going through so much, whether that's persecution, war, or isolation. So yeah, I understand why people feel like, why are you bringing this up now? And honestly, that's exactly why I am. Because we've already been targeted, hated, and mocked from the outside. Why are we turning around and doing the same to each other? Why are we adding to the pain that already exists? After my last video, I noticed a pattern in the comments. People kept falling into extremes, and this is wrong. On one side, we're denying that racism is a real problem, erasing people's experiences, and the other side wanted to take that pain, that experience, and turn it into hate, like fighting fire with fire. Either side of those is not what Islam teaches us to do. We have to stay grounded, because at the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees everything. If you have been wronged, justice will come. And if you've wronged someone, you will have to answer for it. Not to me, not online, but in front of your Lord. And that's not my personal opinion. That's what our deen teaches about accountability. So this isn't about shaming anyone. It's about reflection, about honesty. Because if we can't look at ourselves and admit when something's wrong, are we really one ummah? And I also want to address this pattern I noticed in the comment section of my last video, because it says a lot about where we are as a community. On one side, I hear Muslims saying, you're not really Muslim, because a Muslim would never cause divide. And on the other side, Muslims are saying, this is exactly why we should hate Arabs. And I'm like, no, you're both wrong. Islam teaches balance. It teaches moderation. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ literally said, beware of extremism in religion, for it destroyed those before you. And social media is pushing everyone into these extremes. Everything feels like it's black or white. But Islam isn't like that. It's about justice, context, intention, and nuance. And I feel like we keep forgetting that. And for the non-Muslims who came across my last video and started saying things like, see, Muslims have issues, so Islam therefore is false. First of all, that's a fallacy. But let me make this clear. Islam is perfect, but every single community has its own internal struggles. We are no exception to that. And the only difference between us and any other community is that we have a guide. We have a manual. We know how to solve these issues. And that is by becoming a better Muslim, not by denouncing our faith. So your gotcha moment doesn't really work on us. In fact, it kind of makes you look goofy. So if you're watching this video just to stir up hate or spread Islamophobia or do whatever it is you think you're doing, you can leave. Because you're not going to catch me or any other sincere Muslim feeding into that narrative. So this video isn't for you. It's for Muslims. And it's also not for all Muslims. It's for a very specific group of Muslims. And when I made this video, I honestly genuinely thought that people would understand what I meant, and that those who needed to hear the message I was trying to portray, would reflect, and those who it didn't apply to would just move on. But no, alas, the internet. People had tantrums in the comment section, like, bro, chill. I was sitting there thinking, if this does not apply to you, why are you so pressed? Because if it's not your experience, just move on. The fact that you were so defensive about it says more than you think. And my intention from the start wasn't to create division or to cause fitna or to do anything with malice. It was to talk about something real, something that I've experienced and something I know so many Muslims experience on a daily basis, but we're constantly pushed to the side and not made to feel like we can talk about it. This is a topic that affects real people in our community, people who are made to feel less than, ignored, or dismissed because of where they're from or how they look. And I'm not just bringing this up out of thin air. I've lived it. Others have lived it. And just to be clear, I know racism exists in other groups. I'm not saying it's only Arabs or a specific demographic of people people that commit racism. I was speaking about what I've personally seen and experienced. But if you faced racism from other groups, please share them in the comments. Seriously, because people need to hear that they're not alone. Because when I read some of the stories under my last video, they were so heartbreaking. People were describing being rejected because of their skin tone, being called slurs by other Muslims, and being treated as less than. It's gut-wrenching. And to everyone who shared their stories, I want you to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees you. He sees everything. Nothing you've gone through is unnoticed. And He is the most just. No injustice will go unpunished. So hold on to your faith and strengthen your relationship with Him. And know that your dignity is not defined by people's ignorance. But to the Muslims who think that I'm exaggerating, I honestly don't think you realize how painful it is to be judged based on something you cannot control. You might not see it around you. Heck, you might not experience it. But that does not mean it doesn't exist. If you really care about justice, then you'd want to understand what others are going through, not to just dismiss it because it doesn't happen to you. Because Islam teaches us to listen, to empathize, to stand with the people who are oppressed, not to gaslight them. So again, this isn't about attacking anyone or any group of people. It's about holding a mirror up to us and asking, are we really living by the values we claim to follow? And yeah, I keep hearing the same line over and over again. It's just preference. People say it like it ends the conversation, as if calling something a preference automatically means it's harmless. But when those so-called preferences consistently exclude the same group of people, it's not just taste, it's a pattern, it's bias. Preferences that consistently line up with race, color, or nationality, they lead to isolation of entire groups of people being excluded from our communities. And that's when it stops being harmless and when it starts being discrimination, when it becomes racism, because it's not a preference, it's a system. Studies and community reports show that this is happening. Marriage markets in some Muslim communities privilege lighter skin and a certain national background, and that affects people's real-life chances for partnership and social acceptance. Now, some people will say, but I'm not racist, I just prefer this. If your preferences consistently exclude an entire racial group or ethnic group, then you're participating in and reproducing racial norms, whether you intend to do it or not. Preference becomes prejudice when it operates at a scale unexamined and with no one challenging it. And it's not just about marriage. It's about friendships, who we sit with, who we include in our circles, who we see as relatable or safe. When you notice that the people you choose to be around look the same, from the same background, speak the same language, that says something. And let's be very honest here. A lot of people use preference as a way to avoid looking at their own prejudice. They'll say, I don't find darker skin, darker people attractive. I'm just more into these type of features. But where did that come from? Because nobody's born thinking that. You learned it from media, community gossip, and mostly from your own parents. So what are you so afraid of? Darker skinned people are still people. We want safety, love, compassion. We cry, we laugh, we dream. We're like anyone else. I still remember back in high school, and this was an Islamic school by the way, that one of my friends told me she used to be scared of black people. She said, meeting me changed her mind because I looked like a nice person. Another girl told me her parents don't let black people in their home, which is why she didn't often invite darker skinned people to study or to hang out. And someone said that their family hides nice things when we come over so that we don't steal them. Are you serious? This isn't an Islamic school, by the way. Is this what we're teaching our kids? Subhanallah. Like, that's not Islam. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, there is no superiority for an Arab over a non-Arab, or for a non-Arab over an Arab. No superiority for a white over a black person, or a black person over a white person, except by righteousness. So if you call yourself a Muslim, and you still treat people differently based on their skin color, then you are going directly against what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ taught. And when that behavior becomes normal, it grows into macroaggressions. Entire communities where black Muslims or non-Arab Muslims can't find spouses, can't find friends, can't lead a prayer, can't feel at home in a masjid. It's the same disease. It's just on a different scale. The preference is not inherently a bad thing. So again, don't get me wrong. Preference is not inherently a bad something. And of course, someone would prefer if someone speaks the same language as them, shares the same cultural habits, has the same values. That's human. That's fine. It's again about shaming people for who they're attracted to. It's about asking, where do these attractions come from? Are they truly yours, or are they years built up on years of conditioning and bias that you never questioned? And this isn't just about marriage. If your preferences stop you from forming real friendships, inviting someone into your home, and trusting a classmate or a coworker, that's not preference anymore. I mean, I don't know how to make it more clear. That's prejudice. And Islam teaches us to rise above that, to look at the character, faith, and intention of a person, not the color, background, or accent. If we don't start challenging these things in our daily lives, in our relationships, we're going to keep reproducing the same harm generation after generation, and then we still pretend we're united. And you might be wondering, why does this matter beyond hurting their personal feelings? It's because marriage and friendships are gateways to social status, family networks, leadership, and safety in many communities. If certain people are systematically denied access because of color or origin, they're also being denied economic and social opportunities. That's how interpersonal bias becomes structural inequality. Growell's ethnographic work on spousal selection in American mosques shows how race, religion, and social hierarchies shape who gets chosen. I also just want to be clear again. This wasn't the main point of my first video, and it isn't the main point of this one. I just want to connect the dots for you guys, because a lot of people were saying that these things are irrelevant and they don't end up doing anything. They don't cause harm. It's just whatever, right? But it shows how these macro and microaggressions in marriage, in friendships, in social discussions reflect the broader culture of exclusion. When a community normalizes exclusion in who they marry, who they support socially, it's easier for them to normalize exclusion in politics, in charity, and in how they respond to crises. It all links back to whether we actually live by Islamic values of justice and dignity. And yeah, you probably feel uncomfortable. And this is supposed to be uncomfortable because it asks people to check themselves and admit that not being racist in intent isn't the same as being anti-racist in action. But the work matters, because if we don't fix these small things, these microaggressions, they become big things. And if you want to know more about dehumanization, I suggest you watch my very first video. I think it's titled "The War on Terror is Not Really the War on Terror," or something like that. And I describe this phenomenon when non-Muslims do it to Muslims. So I urge you to check it out. It does describe this phenomenon quite well. I want to talk about something that exposes our contradictions as a community: Sudan. Because this is where all the things I've been talking about, racism, double standard, and silence, come together in real life. Right now, Sudan is facing one of the worst humanitarian crises. According to the UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, over 10 million people have been displaced since the conflict started in April of 2023, making it the largest displacement crisis on Earth right now. More than 25 million people, half of Sudan's population, need humanitarian aid, food, medicine, shelter, basic things, and yet the world barely talks about it. And what makes this harder to process is that this isn't about foreign powers or Western intervention. Most of the countries making this worse, and probably the ones who started this whole thing, were Muslim majority nations. The Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, one of the two main groups fighting in Sudan right now, have been widely reported to receive funding, weapons, and political backing from the United Arab Emirates. The UAE obviously denies direct military involvement, but many reports from the BBC, CNN, and the UN panel of experts have shown that arms and logistical support that is reaching the RSF forces were reaching them through channels connected to UAE territory, especially through Chad and Libya. That support has fueled conflict that has led to massacres, mass atrocities, ethnic cleansing, and the starvation of civilians. And that's what makes me so angry. It's not just the injustice of the situation, it's the silence. We love to say that the Ummah is one body, but when it's inconvenient, we turn away from it. When Muslims are the oppressors, we act like it's none of our business. And people say these weird things like, don't speak about this, you guys are causing fitna, non-Muslims are gonna have ammunition against us. No, injustice is fitna. Remaining silent while people are being killed and starved, that's fitna. If we claim to follow a faith that's built on justice, but we we cannot condemn oppression when it's done by Muslims, we've lost the plot, honestly. That's not Islamic. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, help your brother, whether he is the oppressor or the oppressed. And when the companions asked, how do we help the oppressor? And that sounds outrageous, right? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, by preventing him from oppressing others. That's our standard. That's the Islam we're supposed to follow. And when I see Muslims and Muslim governments defend what's happening in Sudan because the oppressor happens to be Muslim or Arab, I have to ask, when did we lose our sense of morality? We've become more worried about appearing united than about being just. But real unity doesn't come from pretending that everything is fine. It comes from accountability. If we can't call out our own injustices, then our unity is completely fake. And again, this isn't about attacking a group of people. It's not about singling out a specific demographic. It's about being consistent. If we're going to say Islam stands for justice, then we can't pick and choose when it applies. We get so caught up online arguing hijab, gender norms, and bothering with online debates while Muslims are literally dying and being starved by other Muslims. How do we justify that? How can we tell the world that Islam is a religion of peace and justice when we don't practice it among our own people? And I know some people will say, but these are political issues, not religious ones. Sure, yeah, they're political, but they're also moral. And if your faith doesn't guide your morality, what's the point? We can't call for justice when it's easy and stay silent when it's uncomfortable. If you really care about the Ummah, then that means caring about all of it, even when it means calling your own people out. And you know, the whole point, again, I'm going to emphasize this one more time, the whole point of this isn't to attack anyone or to stir drama. It's about being honest with ourselves as Muslims, because we can't just talk about unity and justice if we keep ignoring where we've gone wrong. I feel like lately we've completely lost that balance. Online especially, Muslims have been so divided. Everyone is always arguing and policing each other publicly, but somehow the same people stay silent when it comes to real injustice. Like, why are we spending hours debating how a woman wears her hijab or if someone deserves a divorce while our brothers and sisters are being starved and killed by other Muslims? How are we ignoring these governments that are funding the killing of innocent people, but we quickly jump on TikTok to shame a random sister online for doing something that is ultimately inconsequential? It makes no sense. And the worst part is that social media has made everyone so extreme. People cannot sit with nuance anymore. The moment you speak up, one side goes to that extreme and the other goes to the opposite side. It's kind of like what happened in the comment section of my last video. It's either you must not be Muslim because you're causing fitna, or you're bringing up an issue, or this is why we should hate all Arabs. Like, bro, both of you are wrong. Like, no, Islam is about balance, not about extremes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala literally says we are made a justly balanced nation. And that means that we don't excuse racism, but we also don't generalize or hate entire groups. Justice means calling out what's wrong, no matter who commits it. And for the non-Muslims watching, again, this video is not for you. So if you came here with bad intentions, just leave. You won't find what you're looking for here. This message is for Muslims, especially the ones who care to self-reflect. When I made my first video, I thought people who needed to hear it would listen, and the ones who it didn't apply to would just move on. But obviously that wasn't the case. And the people who I didn't even call out specifically started having full-blown tantrums in the comment section. Again, if it does not apply to you, why are you so defensive? I spoke out about something that's been my experience and the experience of so many Black Muslims. And honestly, we've been barely given the space to say it out loud. And look, I know racism exists in other communities too. I know it's not just one group, but I can't speak about something I haven't experienced firsthand. If you have experienced it, please share it. Someone might need to hear that, to know that they're not alone, and also to educate others. And really, guys, like, I tried to read every single comment that you guys put in my last video where you guys were talking about your experiences. I don't think I got to all of them. There were quite a few comments, but they were so heartbreaking. And some of the things people said, the way they were treated, and sometimes in masjids too, like in our own communities, that's so painful. But don't worry, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees everything. He is the most just. No one will get away with it. So your justice will come. But until then, please just stay connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying that we need to be perfect. I'm far from perfect. I make mistakes every day, and I know I'm privileged. I try to be sincere, and I hope you guys are the same. So let's please stop throwing around the word fitna every time someone brings up something that needs to be discussed. And let's stop hiding behind the word unity if it means staying silent when we see injustices happen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't expect us to be flawless. He didn't expect us to be perfect, but He expects us to try. Be honest, be fair, be the people of justice, even when it's uncomfortable. Because like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He will not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. And maybe that's where it starts, with honesty, self-reflection, and the courage to do better. And most importantly, go back to the Quran and the Sunnah. And if we follow that with the most sincere intentions, I think a lot would change, and it would be for the better.
It's not a civil war, it's a resource grab. The UAE is invading Sudan. It wants Sudanese gold.
هل عشان لوننا بس بيختلف عن لونكم؟ العالم كله يتكلم عن فلسطين والقضية الفلسطينية والحرب الحاصلة في غزة، لكن في نفس الوقت ناسين الحاصل في السودان. والحرب في السودان مستمرة لها أكثر من سنتين، وحاليا داخلين على السنة الثالثة، وفي مجازر وحاجات شنيعة جدا، وكانت أعنف من حرب فلسطين بمراحل. كلامي اللي بقوله أنا الآن ده ما ضد القضية الفلسطينية ولا كده، لا بالعكس، أنا واقف معاهم قلبا وقالبا، لكن في نفس الوقت أنا مستغرب من الظلم الحاصل ده، كأنه نحن ما ناس، كأنه نحن ما بشر، كأنه نحن يعني بس خلق كده ولا حيوانات قاعدين ساي. يا أخي ما في النهاية أنا مسلم زي زيك، إنسان زي زيك.
This woman was hung from a tree by her elbows while this militiaman who had tortured her filmed her. This is just one of the many cases happening in Sudan right now. Women, regardless of age, are getting tortured and killed amidst the civil war. Even 1-year-old children unspared. In one case, a nurse was abducted, forced to treat injured soldiers before she was gang by 13 of them the following day. And if you are wondering why no one is helping them, well, they tried. But husbands and fathers who attempt to stop the abuse get rifles pointed in their faces. And this 11-year-old boy who tried to help his mother was beaten to death by a soldier.
نساء تعلقت بالحبال، ورجال اندهست بالسيارات، وأطفال تعذبوا وبعدهم عم يتعذبوا. مدينة فاشر صار لها شهور يا جماعة متحاصرة من ميليشيات الدعم السريع. يعني اللي صاير
أنا هنا بتكلم عن دولة السودان العربية الشقيقة اللي العالم اتفق إنه ما يتكلمش عنها. تحصل ثورة ويحصل انقلاب وتقوم حروب أهلية، وبرضه يا عم إحنا مالنا ومال السودان؟ لحد ما مال السودان نفسه اتسرق وموارده بقت في ايد عصابات اجنبيه، والميليشيات هناك بقت زي الجراد بتنهب اللي اتبقى في بيوت السودانيين. باينه من بره كدوله قانون، بس من جوه تلاقي الصراع بربري، وحمدتي اللي بيركب الناقه بقى قائد عسكري. انت عارف ان في اكتر من 637 الف بني ادم في السودان وصلوا للمرحله الخامسه من الجوع الكارثي، وده اكبر رقم عالميا باستثناء غزه طبعا. حتى في المجاعات طلعت غزه الاستثناء، لا واحنا كعرب طالعين 2 اوائل. في السودان كل يوم المجاعة بتزيد، وأنا بكلمكم دلوقتي خطر الموت بيحوم حوالين مدينة اسمها مدينة الفاشر السودانية.
If you're not talking about Sudan, I don't consider you human. The RSF killed a woman, filmed her dead body, and told her dead body to get up if you can. People are being hung from trees, men are being tied and they're shot in the sand, women and babies are being raped. People are being burnt alive, hospitals are being bombed, and it's all on TikTok, it's all on Twitter, it's all on Instagram. And they're proud of it, and they post genocide like it's content, and the whole entire world just scrolls.